Welcome. It appears that the powers that be decided that we weren't going to go on at 3 o'clock and that we must try again. So here we are. Let us continue with the second night of the Thousand Nights and One Night. And it says that Dunyazad went to her sister Shahrazad. Oh, my sister, finish for us the story of the merchant and the jinni. And she answered, with joy and goodly greetings, if the king permit me. Then quoth the king, tell me thy story. And Shahrazad began in these words. It hath reached me, O auspicious king and heaven-directed ruler, that when the merchant proposed the sacrifice of the calf, but saw it weeping, his heart relented, and he said to the herdsman, keep the calf among my cattle. All this the whole Shaykh, that is to say Sheikh, told the Jinni, who marveled much at these strange words. Then the owner of the gazelle continued, O Lord of the kings of the Jann, this much took place, and my uncle's daughter, this gazelle, looked on and saw it and said, butcher me this calf, for surely it is a fat one. But I bade the herdsman take it away, and he took it and turned his face homeward. On the next day, as I was sitting in my own house, lo, the herdsman came, and standing before me said, O my master, I will tell thee a thing which shall gladden thy soul, and shall gain me the gift of good tidings. I answered, even so. Then said he, O merchant, I have a daughter, and she learned in magic in her childhood from my old woman who lived with us. Yesterday, when thou gavest me the calf, I went into the house to her, and she looked upon it, and veiled her face, and then she wept and laughed alternately all at the same time. And at last she said, O my father, hath mine honor become so cheap to thee that thou bringest in to me a strange man? I asked her, where be these strange men, and why wast thou laughing and crying? And she answered, of a truth, this calf which was with thee is the son of our master the merchant, but he is ensorced by his stepdame, who bewitched both him and his mother. Such is the cause of my laughter. Now the reason of his weeping is his mother, for that his father slew her unaware. And then I marveled at this with exceeding marvel, and hardly made sure that the day had dawned before I came to thee. When I heard, O Jinni, my herdsman's word, I went out with him, and I was drunken without wine from the excess of joy and gladness which came upon me, until I reached his house. There his daughter welcomed me and kissed my hand, and forthwith the calf came out and fawned upon me as before. Quoth I to the herdsman's daughter, is this true that thou sayest of this calf? Quoth she, yea, my master, he is thy son, the very core of thy heart. And I rejoiced and said, O maiden, if thou wilt release him, thine shall be whatever cattle and property of mine are under my father's hand. She smiled and answered, O my master, I have no greed for the goods, nor will I take them save on two conditions. The first, that thou marry me to thy son, and the second, that I may bewitch her which bewitched him, and imprison her. Otherwise, I cannot be safe from her malice and malpractices. Now when I heard, O Jinni, these the words of the herdsman's daughter, I replied, beside which thou takest and askest, all the cattle and the house stuffs in thy father's charge are thine. And as for the daughter of my uncle, her blood is lawful to thee. When I had spoken, she took a cup, and she filled it with water. Then she recited a spell over it, and sprinkled it upon the calf, saying, if Almighty Allah create thee a calf, remain so shaped, and change not. But if thou be enchanted, return to thy will from form, by command of Allah Most High. And lo, he trembled, and he became a man. Then I fell on his neck and said, Allah upon thee, tell me all that the daughter of my uncle did by thee and by thy mother. And when he told me what had come to pass between them, I said, O my son, Allah favored thee with one to restore thee, and thy right hath returned thee. Then, O Jinni, I married the herdsman's daughter to him, and she transformed my wife into this gazelle, saying, her shape is a comely, but no by no means knight, till the Almighty took her to himself. When she deceased, my son fared forth to the cities of Hind, even to the city of this man who hath done to thee what hath been done. And I also took this gazelle, my cousin, and wandered her from town to town, seeking tidings of my son, till destiny drove me to this place, where I saw the merchant sitting in tears. Such is my tale. Quoth the Jinnee, this story is indeed strange. Therefore, I grant thee 1/3 of his blood. Thereupon, a second old man who owned 2 greyhounds came up and said, O Jinnee, if I recount to thee what befell me with my brothers, these 2 hounds, and thou see that it is a tale even more wondrous and marvellous than thou hast heard, wilt thou grant to me also the 1/3 of this man's blood? Replied the Jinnee, thou hast my word, for if thine adventures be more marvellous and wondrous. Thereupon he thus began. And so we start the second Shaykh's story. Know, O Lord of the Kings of the Jann, that these 2 dogs are my brothers, and I am the 3rd. Now, when our father died and left us a capital of 3,000 gold pieces, I opened a shop with my share, and bought and sold therein, and in like guise did my 2 brothers, setting up a shop. But I had been in business no longer while before the elder sold his stock for 1,000 dinars, and after buying outfit and merchandise, went his way to foreign parts. He was absent 1 whole year with the caravan. But one day, as I sat, I heard a beggar that stood before me, asking alms, and I said to him, Allah open thee another door. Whereupon he answered, weeping the while, Am I so changed that thou knowest me not? Then I looked at him narrowly, and lo, it was my brother. So I rose to him and welcomed him, and then I seated him in my shop, and put questions concerning his case. Ask me not, answered he. My wealth is a waste. My state hath waxed unstated. So I took him to the hammam, that is the bath, and clad him in a suit of my own, and gave him lodging in my house. Moreover, after looking over the accounts of my stock and trade and profits of my business, I found that industry had gained me 1,000 dinars. Now, while my principal, the head of my wealth, amounted to 2,000, so I shared the whole with him, saying, Assume that thou hast made no journey abroad, but hast remained at home, and be not cast down by thy ill luck. And he took the share in great glee, and opened for himself a shop. And matters went on quietly for a few nights and days. But presently my second brother, Jan, the other dog, also setting his heart upon travel, sold off what goods and stock and trade he had, and albeit we tried to stay him, he would not be stayed. He laid in an outfit for the journey and fared forth with certain wayfarers. After an absence of a whole year, he came back to me, even as my elder brother had come, when he said to me, O my brother, did I not dissuade thee from travel? And he shed tears, and he cried, O my brother, this be destiny's decree. Here I am a mere beggar, penniless, and without a shirt on my back. So I led him to the bath, O Jinnee, and I clothed him in new clothes of my wear, and I went with him to my shop, and served him with meat and drink. Furthermore I said to him, O my brother, I am wont to cast upon my shop accounts at the head of every year, and whatso I shall find in surplus is between me and thee. So I proceeded, O Ifrit, to strike a balance, and finding 2,000 dinars of profit, I returned praises to the Creator, be he extolled and exalted, and made over 1/2 to my brother, keeping the other to myself. Thereupon he busied himself with opening a shop, and on his wise we abode many days. After a time, my brothers began pressing me to travel with them, but I refused them, saying, What gained ye by your voyage that I should gain thereby? As it would not give ear to them, we went back each to his own shop, where we bought and sold as before. They kept urging me to travel for a whole 12 months, but I refused to do so till 6 years were past and gone, when I finally consented with these words: "Oh, my brothers, here am I, your companion of travel. Now let me see what moneys have you by." I found, however, that they had not a doit, having squandered their substance in high diet and drinking and carnal delights. Yet I spoke not a word of reproach. So far from it, I looked over my shop accounts once more, and sold what goods and stock and trades were mine, and finding myself the owner of 6,000 ducats, I gladly proceeded to divide that sum into halves, saying to my brothers, "These 3,000 gold pieces are for me, and for you to trade withal," adding, "Let us bury the other moiety underground, that it may be of service in case any harm befall us, and in which case each shall take 1,000 wherewith to open shops." Both replied, "Right is thy recking," and I gave to each one 1,000 gold pieces, keeping the same sum for myself, to wit, 1,000 dinars. We then got ready suitable goods and hired a ship, and having embarked our merchandise, proceeded on our voyage following day, a full month after which we arrived at a city, where we sold our venture, and for each piece of gold we gained 10. And as we turned again to our voyage, we found on the shore a maiden clad in worn and ragged gear, and she kissed my hand and said, "O master, is there kindness in thee and charity? I can make thee a fitting return for them." I answered, "Even so, truly in me are benevolence and good works, even though thou render me no return." Then she said, "Take me to wife, O my master, and carry me to thy city, for I have given myself to thee. So do me a kindness, and I of those be met for good works and charity. I will make thee a fitting return for these, and be there not ashamed by my condition." When he heard her words, my heart yearned towards her, and such sort of will as was willed by Allah, be extolled and exalted, and took her, and clothed her, and made her ready for a fair resting place in the vessel, and honorably entreated her. So we voyaged on, and my heart became attached to her with exceeding attachment, and I was not separate her neither day nor night, and I paid more regard to her than to my brothers. Then we were estranged from me, and waxed jealous of my wealth and quantity of merchandise I had, and their eyes were opened covetously upon all my property. So they took counsel to murder me, and to seize my wealth, saying, "Let us slay our brother, and all his monies will be ours." And Satan made this deed seem fair in their sight. So when they found me in privacy, I sleeping by my wife's side, they took us both up and cast us into the sea. My wife awoke startled from her sleep, and forthwith became an Ifrata. She bore me up and carried me to an island, and disappeared for a short time. But she returned in the morning and said, "Here am I, thy faithful slave, who hath made thee due recompense. For I bore thee up in the waters, and saved thee from death by command of the Almighty. Know that I am a Jinnah, and I saw thee, my heart loved thee by will of the Lord, for I am a believer in Allah and his apostles, whom heaven bless and prepare. Thereupon I came to thee conditioned as thou sawest me, and thou dismayedst me, and see how I have saved thee from sinking. But I am angered against thy brothers, and assuredly I must slay them." When I heard her story, I was surprised, and thanking her for all she had done, I said, "But as to slaying my brothers, thou must not be." Then I told her the tale of what had come past between us, and the beginning of our lives, and to the end, and on hearing it, quoth she, "This night will I fly as a bird over them, and I will sink their ship and slay them." Quoth I, "Allah upon thee, do not thus, for the proverb saith, O thou who doest good to him that doth evil, leave the evildoer to his evil deeds. Moreover, they are still my brothers." But she rejoined, "By Allah, there is no hope for it, but I slay them." I humbled myself before her for their pardon, whereupon she bore me up and flew me all away at home till she put me on the roof of my very own house. I opened the doors and I took up what I had hidden in the ground, and after I had saluted the folk, I opened my shop and brought my merchandise. Now, when the night came on the night when I went home, and there I saw these two hounds tied up, and when they sighted me, they arose and they whined and they fawned upon me. But ere I knew what happened, my wife said, "These two dogs be thy brother." I answered, "And who hath done this thing to them?" And she rejoiced. "I sent a message to my sister, and she entreated them as this wise, nor shall these two be released from their present shape till 10 years shall have passed. And now I have arrived at this place on my way to my wife's sister, that she may deliver them from this condition, after they have endured it for 60 years. As I went wending onwards, I saw this young man, who acquainted me with what had befallen him, and he determined not to fare hence until I should see what might occur between thee and him. Such is my tale." Then said the Jinnee, "Surely this is a strange story, and I give thee 1/3 portion of this blood for his crime." Thereupon quoth the third Shaykh, the master of the mare mule, to the Jinnee, "I can tell ye a tale more wondrous than these two, so that grant me the remainder of his blood for his offence." And the Jinnee answered, "So be it." Then the old man began. And so the third Shaykh's story begins. "Know, O Sultan and head of the Jann, that this mule was my wife. Now it so happened that I went forth and was absent 1 whole year, and when I returned from my journey I came to her by night, and saw a black slave lying with her on the carpet bed, and they were talking and dallying and laughing and kissing and playing the close buttocks game. When she saw me, she rose and came hurriedly at me with a gugglet of water, and muttering spells over it, she besprinkled me with this, said, 'Come forth from this into the shape of a dog.' And in an instant I became a dog, and she drove me out of the house, and I ran through the doorway, not ceasing until I came to the butcher's stall, where I stopped, and I began to eat what bones were there. When the stall owner saw me, he took me and he led me into his house. But as soon as his daughter had sight of me, she veiled her face from me, crying, 'Dost thou bring me a man? And dost thou come in with them?' Her father said, 'What is the man?' And she answered, 'This dog is a man whom his wife hath ensorced, and I am able to release him.' When her father heard the words, he said, 'Allah upon thee, O my daughter, release him.' So she took a gugglet of water, and after uttering words over it, sprinkled a few drops, saying, 'Come forth from that form into thy former form.' And I returned to my natural shape. Then I kissed her hand and said, 'I wish thou wouldest transform my wife, even as she transformed me.' Thereupon she gave me some water, saying, 'As soon as thou see her asleep, sprinkle this liquid upon her, and speak the words which thou heardest me utter. So shall she become whatsoever thou desirest.' So I went into my wife and found her fast asleep. And while sprinkling the water upon her, I said, 'Come forth from the form into the form of a mare mule.' So she became in the instant a she mule, and she it is whom thou seest with thine eyes, O Sultan, and head of the kings of the Jann." Then the Jinnee turns towards her and he said, "Is this sooth?" And she nodded her head and replied by signs, "Indeed, 'tis the truth, for such is my tale, and this is what hath befallen me." Now, when the old man had ceased speaking, the Jinnee shook with pleasure and gave him the third of the merchant's blood. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day and ceased saying her permitted say. Then quoth Dinarzade, "O my sister, how pleasant is thy tale, and how tasteful, how sweet, and how grateful." She replied, And what is this compared with that I could tell thee the night to come, if I live and the king spare me? Hmm. Then thought the king, by Allah, I will not slay her until I hear the rest of her tale, for truly it is wondrous. So they rested that night in mutual embrace until the dawn. After this the king went forth to his hall of estate, and the wazir and the troops came in, and the court was crowded, and the king gave orders and judged and appointed and deposed, bidding and forbidding during the rest of the day. Then the divan broke up, and King Shahryar entered his palace. And that ends our tale for the second night. Until tomorrow.